1970 and 1973, in my estimation, was the biggest drug dealer.
One day when we were coming up in the elevator, some of Frank Matthews' men were in the elevator with their fancy fur coats and the jewelry, attaché cases and whatever.
We seized $2.5 million cash.
Frank Matthews out of Brooklyn. Nicky owed him $300,000. He came to me and said, man, I don't even know you, period, but they told me if I came to you, you could straighten it out. And I said, Nicky, what's up, man, with this guy, man? You owe him, he gonna give him $300,000 now? And Nicky said, I'm gonna give it to him, period, don't worry about it.
And Frank had an apartment, that one of these old-time apartments, when you walked into a closet, it was like a walk-in closet. One of these closets was filled with money over your head.
Frank ended up, when I'm in Lewisburg, sent me $500,000. Tell people if he needed to keep it.
Frank had more money than the mob.
Matthews was the number one. He would have ruled the United States.
Frank Matthews was a much larger drug dealer than Frank Lucas.
He's literally fallen off the face of the earth.
When the cold wind comes, it lives in New York City.
In the 1970s, we had a heroin problem in the country, and definitely in New York City.
A river of money is flowing because business is so good.
It was a gangster town, you know, nobody wanted to go to New York City.
What evolved here, he took over.
He was a guy that had great leadership skills and knew how to control a product, make distribution all along the East Coast, and control an organization through violence and intimidation.
State senator from Baltimore, and Frank had him killed.
And he had been identified as the largest heroin trafficker in the United States.
He put $4 million on the table, and he says, let me see if you can match it.
Refused to allow him into the drug trade, Frank Matthews became a kingpin in his own right, until he mysteriously vanished in 1973 with $20 million. At the height of his drug empire in 1972, Frank Matthews, better known as Black Caesar, was operating out of nearly every region in the country. With a foothold in 21 states, it was perhaps no surprise that Matthews was eventually caught and arrested in Skanefield, Florida, for attempting to sell 40 pounds of pure cocaine. But on July 2, 1973, when he was set to appear in court, Matthews vanished, along with his girlfriend and $20 million, and has never been seen again. Frank Larry Matthews was born on February 13, 1944, in Durham, North Carolina. He was raised by his aunt, after his mother died when he was 4. He was a fairly good student but dropped out of school when he was in 7th grade. Instead, Matthews started a gang that stole chickens from farms around Durham. After one such attempt, a farmer caught Matthews, who assaulted him. Matthews was arrested and charged with theft and assault. He spent a year in reform school in nearby Raleigh, and moved to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, after his release. Soon, he was running a numbers racket. Through his racket, Matthews became closely connected to members of the Black Mafia, an organized crime family dealing high amounts of drugs. He was arrested in 1963 for drug-related crimes but avoided jail by agreeing to leave the city. Soon after, he moved to the Bed-Stuy neighborhood of Brooklyn, where he returned to his numbers game. But the numbers proved to be less fruitful than they had once been, and so Matthews turned back to drug dealing. By then, the Italian Mafia was the leader of wholesale drugs, and he attempted to work for the Gambino and Bonanno families before meeting Raymond Marquez, who gave him his first kilo